It's like the friend zone, but way worse. That's all there is to it. So for me, like the way that I look at the identity around someone ghosting is that typically what's happening is just something that's out of our control in most cases, whether it's personal, or there is a business initiative that was going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about, right? So to me, like putting a label on it to understand more that there's usually emotional context involved, and there are things that we can't necessarily understand or explain. And also, the thought about around that is to curate your approach differently. So more empathy, less, hey, did you get my last 17 emails? That could just feel obnoxious to people, especially when it's not necessarily their prerogative to ignore you to begin with. Listen, like anybody out there that's listening, I've been in sales for 15 plus years now, and I'm still a young guy. Okay. I don't have a lot of gray in my beard yet. James Buckley's going to say something in the comments here in a second about how old I am because we've been hanging out recently. And he's like, man, your knees are pretty bad, bro. Can you even play basketball anymore? You suck, old man. Right. So I digress. The idea, though, is that I started at a young age as a millennial and in a space where like pretty much every single decision maker was like 30 years older than me when I first got in. That's how it looked. And to myself, I kept saying, I must not be relevant. I must not be able to get their attention correctly. I had all these things going through my head, and really like an awakening for me and understanding like what that ghosting zone truly is when I had somebody finally get back to me and be like, yo, just chill, bro. I'm going to get back to you. Like, just chill. And I do it too to people all the time and don't even mean to in most cases. So I think the one thing that we want to understand about the ghosting zone is that we're all capable of becoming a victim to it. And that really it's about constant and ongoing communication that goes beyond your sale and creates and provides emotional context between the two of you as well, so that that person feels okay enough to say something like, hey, my daughter just had her baby and I'm going to be completely away from my email for the next 2 days. Sorry that I was supposed to sign your deal tomorrow. It's not going to happen, right? That proactive mindset is how the ghosting zone for me really becomes something that we live in constantly to in a state of consistency, I should say, to keep ourselves from having to suffer inside of it. So you just have to think a little bit bigger than what the typical playbook would tell you, right? And please, for the love of God, stop sending bump emails and, like just checking in and like, are you
Doubling
okay?
this to the top of your inbox.
Check this out real quick. Yeah, Miranda, that's it right there. Check this out real quick. I just sent this email. This one works really well. I just sent it recently to 3 people. I got 3 responses. The subject line is, did you die? With a question mark. Now, first off, be very careful about sending that email. You have to have a really good relationship with people, but think about that for a second, that I can send that email to specific people and I know they won't be offended. I know they'll laugh and I know they'll get back to me, right? That is a deep connection right there. That's not just a, hey, let me send this email and see if it works to this random person that I'm trying to get back in touch with, right? That is the concept of proactively selling, connecting, and giving people the right kind of experience.
Now, Miranda, have you ever used a creative kind of outlet in your outreach to really hook someone in? And if so, what did you do?
That's a great question. I definitely don't think I can compare to Dale on any of these, but what I will say is something that I did that I think has served me really well in my approach is just humanizing myself in the process and just being a person. So the best example I can give you is back in December, I was on a bit of a hot streak in terms of, I was still an SDR at that point in time. And I was going for our record of the most meetings set in a day. And I was at 9 and I really, really wanted to hit that 10 and put myself above just for my own sake to really feel proud of my performance for the day. And I was finally able to get somebody back who had ghosted a different SDR of ours in the past and really was like, hey man, I will buy you and your significant other. And he was prepping for his anniversary dinner with his wife. And I was like, let me treat you and your wife to lunch, drinks, whatever it is on me. If you will help me beat this record, like this would absolutely make or break my like SDR career so far, and ended up getting him back and it ended up going pretty well in my book. So definitely always pull the anniversary card, and when in doubt, just compliment their wife or their spouse or their partner. And I found that worked well too.
I just want to reiterate, like an underscore, that these are people who you have had some sort of connection with. We're not talking cold calling has never responded to you. So everything that Dale and Miranda has said, it's something that they've actually had this relationship they've created, they've had conversation. So like, just want to underscore it again. I think it's worth highlighting. A couple things. So the DoorDash story, Adrian, I had someone who we had meetings booked and then it was canceled, meeting book and then it was canceled. And I was like, hey, I just want to make sure everything's okay. And the woman replied that she had a sick child at home. And I said, we'll reschedule later. Don't even worry about it. I know what it's like from one mother to another. Here's DoorDash so that you can eat a real lunch today. And it
Wow.
was without the expectation of a sale or booking. And I think that that's something that is important too, that we're being humans, right? That we're showing up and it's just, hey, I want to help you out. I understand what you're going through. Been there, right? Let me be a human and just show that I care. And I know that some people have boundaries in term or like limits in terms of monetary gifts, if that's something that you can't do. The other thing that I think is different, that's showing up different, is send a video. When we are sending emails, a lot of times it's getting lost, right? It's words, it's text on a screen, and like some of the things show up. And, I know Miranda has done some awesome memes, the Giphies, right? And like, but if we're showing up different, if they have a connection with us and we can show that our concern is genuine and that we care, they can hear the inflection in our voice. We can joke a little bit different because sometimes people read things incorrectly. But if we're saying it, our tone is there and we have this connection. I could just be like, hey, we haven't been able to catch each other. Thought I'd make you a quick video. Curious if anything's changed. It's completely fine. If it has, just let me know. And letting my tone and my energy show through. I've seen quite a few people mention different industries that they're in and what's working and what's not. And there is a good piece of that. Like if you could just show up in a different way than what you have been doing, any of these ideas, just showing up different, do something out of the box, pop them a LinkedIn voice note, or, oh yeah, hardcore with the LinkedIn voice note, or even a video on LinkedIn if you're first degree connected, like just something different.
Something
Oh,
different.
Can I
and-
riff on this for a second? Is that
Yeah, of
okay?
course.
Just like
Of
feeling
course.
inspired as hell by Leslie. And so there's a couple things that are very important, I think, to what she's saying that everybody can take a piece of, which is that she's talking about the basics around like human principles and the psychology of the way that a regular human being operates. So like think back to being like 12 years old and having a surprise birthday party thrown for you. And up till 12 years old, you've never had a surprise birthday thrown for you. So every year you're expecting this kind of same thing for your birthday. And then your mom and dad go all out and they hook it up and you're at Chuck E. Cheese and all your friends are there and you're eating pizza that a rat gave you and it's incredible. And that moment that changes your life though, right? It literally changes your freaking life. And this is the thing, is that we take for granted the opportunities that we have to impact people so often. We think, oh, I got to hit quota. Oh, I need to sell something. Oh, I want to buy that fancy car. And so I got to make this $17,000 commission. Shout out to all the copier warriors out there that hit those big bucks, right? So, but the thought again is that how can I detach myself from this? Leslie said something very important that everybody needs to think about: expectations. What expectations do you have when interacting with another human being? Are you sitting back and saying, oh, I need something from this person. I have to have this thing. This deal could change my life. Well, guess what? That doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that you have the opportunity to influence the way that other people think about sales, the way that other people think about human interaction. At my father's funeral, a guy came up to me, and there was thousands of people that came up to me. I mean, literally, I'm not exaggerating. For 8 hours after my dad's funeral, we had people coming up to us telling us stories, people we'd never met in our lives. There was a guy, though, individually that really relates to this. They came up to us and told us a story about my dad doing something for him that he didn't even know my dad did it. Right? He had to like dig deep and figure out that my dad had done this thing to begin with and blessed this person and created a moment of impact for them. And it changed his literal life. He told me, he said, I went home and I told my wife that I'd been having an affair. And he said, and she stayed with me. God bless her. She stayed with me. And he said, we've been together for like another 20 plus years and we have 4 kids and we're extremely happy. But if your dad hadn't motivated me to get out of this disgusting lifestyle that I was in and these things that were nagging at me deep in my soul by doing one simple thing for me, one simple thing, my life would never be the same. I probably wouldn't even be standing here today. That is extremely powerful. My dad sold copy machines, ladies and gentlemen, right? You have a medium at your fingertips in all instances of these types of things. This is more than ghosting, right? People ghost because of the simple examples that we've given, but they technically ghost because they're living their life. And we forget that so often. And so I love Leslie's example. And I think it's just really important that we think so much deeper than all this, and that we rebel against the status quo and the mediocre and the typical bullshit that everybody tells us we have to be doing. Send a value proposition, throw a couple white papers over there and let them read those. Like, no, give people an experience, show your heart, sink your teeth into those moments, and not in a weird way, right? But in a very romantic way. And from the perspective of that, I'm giving everything I have to this thing right here. And I promise you that what you get as a result will be beyond any expectation that you ever came in with.
Something that all this talk about being a person and being proactive and just sort of shooting them straight that really rings true for me is what we talk about ambition with calling a spade and really breaking the fourth wall, and just not putting up a front. We're people. There's a reason that people do this job and machines don't. It's person to person, and the relationships is entirely what makes or breaks a sale or makes or breaks a relationship between you and yourself and a prospect. So what I've found that like using this in my calls as an SDR and my deals as an AE is labeling, and really just sort of calling something what it is and shooting them straight and putting the ball in their court, which is like, it sounds like the timing's less than ideal. Are we still interested in continuing the conversation, or should I plan on reaching back out down the line? If not, happy to part ways as friends, or in my case, I guess now it'll be happy to send a magician your way with a business card for your reference. But really taking the pressure off. You can use your personality. I know a lot of our SDRs at Ambition use this with the memes and the GIFs, and that really sets us apart. But is there anything that you can think of as to why this time frame wouldn't work for you, or why we can't move forward? And again, really putting the ball back in their court there.